Hi everyone, it's Fred again from Notes of a Nomad, video number 264. Today I want to talk about that disastrous meeting in the White House that happened last week with President Donald Trump of the United States and President Vladimir Zelensky from the Ukraine, and of course, Vice President J.B. Vance was there involved as well. And they were talking at cross purposes. What a disastrous meeting that was. And it brought back the memories of a video that I created 1 year ago, number 214, where I was talking about William Ury, who is a negotiator, and he was interviewed on a podcast by Tim Ferriss. And it was fascinating to hear his concept on what is required to be successful in negotiations. William Ury is involved in Harvard's program for negotiation. Has written a book. Recent book is called Possible, which is subtitle is, how we survive and thrive in the age of conflict. And certainly we have the age of conflict going on right now between Russia and Ukraine. And one of the things that William Ury emphasizes, you must know what each side is priorities. What are they looking for? And at the meeting that occurred last week, well, what was Donald Trump looking for? He wanted Vladimir Zelensky to say, understand, I am the only person that is possibly can create a discussion between Russia and Ukraine to discuss a peace agreement. So who else would do that? He's probably right. Is it going to be the United Nations? No. It's going to be the European Union? No. So who's going to be able to do that? So that's what Donald Trump is wanting to talk about and make sure that Vladimir Zelensky understands that. And what does Vladimir Zelensky want Donald Trump to understand? I need security guarantees. Without security guarantees, it's not going to be successful. So they're talking at cross purposes. They're not listening to each other. When we listened to William Ury on the podcast that I listened to last year from Tim Ferriss, he spoke about certain approaches which were important, such as have breaks. In other words, maybe talk about what we want and then have a break. Well, there was probably no breaks at all before this meeting. For example, Vladimir Zelensky took a train for about 10 hours to catch a plane for another 10 or 12 hours, then got to Washington, D.C., met with people in the Congress and had meetings with other people in Washington, D.C., and then went immediately to this discussion. There was no thoughts about what are we trying to achieve. And because they were talking at cross purposes, we had a disastrous meeting. So with what William Ury has to say, maybe if you are interested, look at my previous video of a year ago, number 214. And also there's a link to the podcast with Tim Ferriss and William Ury, which is very interesting. For example, not only has William Ury written a lot of books, but he's been involved in many successful negotiations. One example was when President Jimmy Carter had Israel and Egypt talking about peace because on the Sinai Peninsula, they were fighting and at war. What was it that Egypt wanted? What was in there? They wanted Sinai Peninsula back. It belonged to them. What did Israel want? They said, we don't want people attacking us. And this peace agreement, they agreed to give Sinai Peninsula to Egypt, long as they would not attack Israel. And that peace agreement has been in order for over 40 years. It's worked. And these are some of the concepts that William Ury suggests. He has been involved in many negotiations, very fascinating. And that's what's required to have successful agreements. So if you're interested, I would highly recommend listening to Tim Ferriss. I think it was number 721 on the 13th of February, 2024, where William Ury discussed negotiations. And that's what the world needs. And if we get those sort of negotiations, we'll have peace in the world. Talking about peace, if you look at the picture behind me, that is the World Peace Pagoda or temple in Lumbini, Nepal, where I visited 2 years ago when I was in Nepal. And if I move over, you see, there I am in Lumbini. But that's Lumbini is where Buddha was born. So there's a lot of temples and monasteries in the Lumbini area. But the World Peace Pagoda is there. Let's hope that we can have some world peace, that perhaps even Donald Trump will get Vladimir Putin and Vladimir Zelensky to discuss what they want, what are the basics, and come to a peaceful agreement that will last for many, many decades. So with that, I wish you, your family and friends, lots of love and laughter. And if you're interested in negotiations, highly recommend following what William Ury has to say about it. Bye for now. Till next time, from Fred and Notes of a Nomad.